Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dinner time is here. That's right. We're talking about Hannibal Season 3, Episode 7, Digestivo on Dish by Dish. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hampton, coming to you once again from a beautiful farm in out-of-the-way Virginia. It's the Dish by Dish edition of Kill by Kill, is where we watch an episode of Hannibal and then we talk about it. Of course, this is episode 7 of season 3 called Digestivo. And of course, there's only one person I trust. That the sex is so good, I'm willing to steal some sperm from my brother. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How you doing, Gina?
I mean, who wouldn't? Who's among us?
Truly. I don't blame either of them. It's just a very fast turn, as we talked about a couple weeks ago. They go from 0 to let's steal your brother's sperm way fast, man.
Yeah, I think that Alana just like, fuck it. You know? I'm living for me now.
Digestivo in Italian means digestive. An Italian digestivo is an alcoholic after dinner drink. It's usually served in a small glass, straight as if it is a shot. Most often people sip it, however. Like the name suggests, it's meant to aid digestion after a substantial meal. And in Italy, different regions will all have their own digestivo. Basically, they whatever their home crop is, that's what they'll use. So if you're in a part of Italy where artichokes are your thing, guess what your digestivo is based off of? Artichokes. And that's true of all over the region. Some are great, some are malort. So
can I tell you a little story?
Sure, of course.
When I went to Disney World, one of the things I wanted to check off my list was stopping at the Coca-Cola, world of sodas. Mm-hmm. And I had been warned about a certain beverage called Beverly. I went through, I tried the different Coca-Colas from around the world. I'm like, all right, here's Beverly. And I almost did the whole It tasted almost as bad as. Oh, I have had Malort. That's terrible.
It is.
It tastes like drinking perfume.
Yeah.
And I have also had absinthe, which is terrible. Mm-hmm. And I have had a drink that had sambuca in it, which is terrible. In case you could not guess, I loathe the taste of black licorice. And
yeah, I'm in the same boat.
All of those drinks, with the exception of Malort, which again tastes like drinking perfume. They all taste like
fermented it in a cow's stomach. Yeah, I would agree with you.
The other ones all taste like black licorice, and I hate it so much.
Yeah, it's not necessarily my bag. But I always try because you never know. When I was in the sort of Florence region of Italy, we visited one particular place that had an after dinner drink that had been made from the oldest wine. It had been distilled over and over and over again. It was moonshine, basically. And everyone else sipped it, and I took the shot. And I'm like, okay, I've had that experience. But then everyone else in the party, which was my wife and another couple, they handed me the shots of theirs and like, do it. And so I'm like, I'll at least take one more. I don't remember throwing another shot glass into the fire, but apparently that happened.
Oh wow, that's very dramatic. Like like you just found someone trying to make a pass at Becky. How dare you, sir?
I don't know. I was told to do it, and apparently I did. And Becky had photos of it, but I don't remember it happening. The second shot literally put me in a place where I think for the first time I was blackout drunk. The second time would be a tiki birthday I had a few a few years ago, where we got back to the house. I remember being served key lime pie and don't remember the rest of the evening.
Well, at least you had key lime pie. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh no, it's so good. So good. You know what comes close to key lime pie though is brain flambe.
Of course.
Just sizzling hot on the pan with a little butter. And we get very, very close to this happening. But nope, the Italian police working under the guise of Mason Verger stopped this from happening. Of course, they didn't get there before Will has a giant, I assume into his skull gash in his face, which he does not seem to be phased by because he was drugged up to the gills. But that's going to hurt over the long haul.
Yeah, and your brain's just going to fall out after a while.
You would think at some point you would just lean the wrong way and it slips through the cracks like an octopus trying to escape a ship. Again, last time we talked a couple weeks ago, I was mystified by Chiyoh. And this entire episode, I have, oh my God, Chiyoh has changed, sides again. Like before she did a whole heel turn. Now it's a face turn where she kills a bunch of Italian cops and has no problem doing it. Also, they were about to slice open to an FBI, maybe not active agent, but still, you have zero fear of bone sign, an FBI agent. Whoa, boy, he must be paying you well.
And like this guy, I forget the character's name. He's like excited about it. He's like, just leave, cut him open like Hannibal will leave him. And you're right that the main premise of this show is everybody is capable of killing, and not just killing in the most brutal manner possible.
Yeah, give them 5 minutes and they'll come up with a way to do it. And Chiyoh, who we know is capable of killing. But I don't fully understand what her motivations are, because if it's, I need to kill Hannibal for myself, she's shitty at that. And she had multiple opportunities to fucking do it. And she just doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's like she always refrains at the very last second. And
yes,
I have to say, it's nothing against the actress, but talk about a completely superfluous character. She literally just walks away at the end of the episode, and I don't think we ever see her again.
All she does is create hurdles, is what it comes down to. It's like, well, this should be over now. Nope, she shoots somebody. Well, this should be over now. She walks into a scene. Like, all she does is complicate the end of this. But does she affect anything other than rescue Jack for reasons? I don't know, man. It's real. I don't understand it. I don't quite get it. Who does she fucking shoot at the end?
I thought it was Will. I thought it was Will again.
Will again? He takes another fucking shot? What? He was being carried by Hannibal. Like, what the fuck? What do you gain out of shooting a guy who's unconscious? How does that help?
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of like, I guess she's telling Hannibal, this is how close I can get to you, but just fucking kill him then.
Yes, I don't understand it at all. I don't get their connection. We have no flashbacks. It just doesn't. This is the one thing here that does not quite work for me. I know why they used it. I know they were trying to approximate some things from other books and whatnot. But like all these other characters get plenty of backstory and plenty of motivation and all this stuff. And she doesn't. She's just kind of a very quiet assassin. It almost falls into a stereotype. Almost. But I don't think they do enough with her for her to actually be a stereotype. It's just weird. I'll be honest with you, and confounding.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think I ever really understood the purpose of her character.
Yeah.
And when she first showed up, I thought it was supposed to be I don't lady something who
Yeah.
shows up in, I think, Hannibal Rising,
Yes.
who sort of ends up being his mentor, I believe. But like, oh no, she's too young for that. Okay.
Yeah.
But and then so it's like, okay, she was somebody that he played the same mind games with as he played with Bedelia and Will. And okay, I don't know what purpose her character serves, except that, you know, he's been doing this for a long time with a lot of different people. But
It
like,
just feels like we should have had some sort of flash. I mean, it would have been weird to find two people who could act like them and look younger or whatnot. But man, they have enough conversations. But I just, it's the one thing it doesn't quite jibe for me. Sorry, everyone. You know, nothing's perfect, but as close as Hannibal comes to that, this is the one thing I kind of feel is a little bit miffed.
Yeah, it's like they introduced the character and they're like, we don't know what to do with her.
Like, she's got to be here because we came up with all of these obstacles for all of our main characters to have, and she has to be one of them. But why they didn't quite crack that nut. Meanwhile, Mason Verger has a lot of confidence for a guy who, when he last squared up against Hannibal Lecter, he ended up feeding his own face to dogs. This does not seem to have tempered him in any way, shape, or form.
No, it really hasn't. You know, his attitude is, well, this time I've got him for sure.
Right. I mean, I guess, you know, last episode we talked a lot about Bugs Bunny, but there is a bit of Bugs Bunny foil to Mason Verger, where no matter how many times he ends up feeding his face to dogs or loses massively, he's like, listen, this time this plan is foolproof, baby.
Why will this work? Because I've thrown more money at it this time.
Which is no problem I can't solve with dollars.
As we know, the best solution to any problem is to continue throwing money at it.
Listen, if it worked for that doofus trying to buy Twitter, why wouldn't it work for Mason Verger and the cannibal he wants to eat? Here was something that I found interesting because they end up confining both Hannibal and Will to these fancy wheelchair trusses. But then at one point, Cordell ends up dressing them in 3-piece suits. And it's like, how the fuck does that work? How do you dress somebody in a 3-piece suit when they're confined to this massive wheelchair?
Very carefully, because, you know, he's got a staff. Like he manages to find a lot of people who are willing to help a child molester who has, you know, some very elaborate plan to torture and kill 2 people.
What must the benefits at Mason Verger Inc. be like?
What's the interview like?
Yeah, I don't. So tell me, like, what was the last time you dressed an unconscious man?
Wow, that's a good imitation. Because again, he kind of talks a little bit like Edward G. Robinson. Now, here,
you can't really move his jaw because it's not really there, and he doesn't have lips. But oh man, yeah, he
looks pretty good. Like, I mean, like I said, all the injuries are to the lower half of his face, and I'm just thinking of how like horrifying Gary Oldman looked in the movie, where like I think he was blinded, like he had that one like fucked up eye, and
he's blinded in one eye for sure.
His entire face was just gone. Whereas Mason's mostly the damage is reserved to and he looks more like he's been burned than he's carved off his face.
I also feel like the scarring gets less and less the more episodes we go through. Like,
yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, it's like
maybe
they
that's
simplified the makeup.
Maybe like in the 3 or 4 months, that's where Margot and Alana fell in love.
Yeah,
there's just
a lot of time where
I was gonna say there's a time jump, but we didn't realize it.
A time jump of psychedelic orgasms and putting a lot of salve on those scar
I was
tissue.
gonna say, Cordell has lovingly put lotion on his face every night.
Speaking of my man Cordell, I did not have Will goes full Mike Tyson on Cordell on my bingo card. That really came out of nowhere for me.
I mean, Cordell shouldn't be putting his face too close to him, honestly.
He's very, very confident. And again, this all works out well for Will and Hannibal, their overconfidence. But Cordell takes that bite to the face in stride, because I would be wailing on that motherfucker. And he's like, ouchie.
Again, and I talked about this in the next episode, even though almost every character at some point in the show is grievously injured, nobody ever screams. They just look a little startled, and then they either hobble away or they faint if they're Will. But nobody reacts in a way that normal human beings would react. Even Jack, who might be the only normal character in this movie, in this TV series, his neck gets slashed the fuck out of it, and he's just kind of grabbing it like oh no, my neck, where most people would be like, oh Jesus,
but he's more like, oh, that's a lot of my body juice coming out. Well, if I stay still,
I better hold some of that in. I need that.
911, I need more body juice. I'm losing all of mine. Cordell just sews that shit back into his face. But wouldn't you have to come at it from both sides? I don't think you can self-surgery a piece of your face back on. There's a huge chunk of his cheek he takes off. And he's kind of like, well, I'll trust this bad boy up and everything will be fine. Like, fuck, man. Again, what is he getting paid?
Yeah, what is he getting paid? Where did Mason find him? Mason seems to have a series of employees that don't mind what he's doing, and yes. I just don't know. And I realize this is hardly the first movie that has a extremely violent, extremely unsavory character who just manages to find people to work for him. But I feel here it's a particularly silly because he's got a man hanging in his barn.
He's got two fucking kidnap victims, and everyone's like, pays the bills, baby.
It must be Tuesday. Mason's got another dude strung up in his barn.
I hear there are plans for a pajama party later, so that's why I'm sticking around. It's not just the money, do what you love what you do.
It's the snacks. We're making popcorn. We're doing s'mores. We're eating someone's fingers.
At this point, everyone involved in the show is so guilty of something that the only way they would be found not guilty is if they were adjudicated by the jury on Candy. Fucking A. Spoilers for Candy, everyone. Let's talk about offshoot. Let's talk about Candy for a second.
I liked Candy. I thought it was good.
I like Candy too, but listen. I'm like guilty, not guilty. Are you fucking kidding me? She hatchet somebody on Friday the 13th 41 fucking times, and you're like, well, it'll happen.
Poor Betty. just a shitty husband with a shitty mustache. She's lonely. She's obviously depressed. Poor Betty.
Betty deserved better. Absolutely. And everything in that show really works up until the point somebody's husband had to be cast. And then all of a sudden, this show that has very much stayed in that early 70s, late 70s, early 80s vibe is just blown to bits when somebody decides to bring sexy back and has a little stomach paunch sewn into his costume. I mean, he sucks rocks in that role. It is criminal that he was involved in this. I almost feel like he was cast because she doesn't trust him at home alone. So she'd rather have him on set. That's how it felt to me.
Yeah, I did not like the stunt casting because Melanie Linsky's husband was in it too, playing another cop.
But Jason Ritter is a fucking actor. I didn't mind him. He's playing a real character. Whereas Tim feels so fucking out of place. He never feels like he's actually in a scene. It literally feels like an SNL sketch, which is why he did well on SNL, because you can't take that fucker seriously. And then he shows up and you're like, oh, this is going to fuck with my vibe. And he tries real hard to fuck with that vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Everyone else is committing to the bit in that, but him. He can't fucking do it. He's not an actor, everyone. No. Sorry to say.
No.
But I did meet his wife once, and this was 1999. And I was like, holy shit, that might be the most attractive person I've seen up close in my entire life.
Yeah, I mean, well, she the only way they can make her look unattractive is by giving her an unbelievable perm wig. She looks like Harpo Marx.
She does look like Harpo Marx. And I don't feel, the thing is, like, she's not just trying to ugly up. I do feel like she is she is a way better actor than like she was when I briefly met her in 1999. She is studied up. Like you see her in Stealth and you're like, I don't know that person should, I mean, very pretty, but not an actor, and very much in Candy. Great in that role.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. How did we get on Candy?
Oh, I don't know. We finally finished Candy and I wanted to talk to somebody who had actually seen it. But we are going to talk about Hannibal again. That's a lot of rope work that Hannibal's trussed up in that pig pen, naked. I'm sure that sends the interwebs into all sorts of flurries. Are you following at all the trending Hannibal crowd on Twitter?
I can't say I am.
A very enthusiastic, loving bunch. Very creative. The artwork that these people come up with are fantastic. All sorts of styles. So dedicated to the show. They feel seen, and I love them all. And occasionally there's like, wow, there's a lot of fucking between these two who don't really get the opportunity to fuck, but I guess, yeah, sure. It's not like they don't depict it well, so I'm all for it. I'm sure the rope work here must be inspirational, is my guess, to a lot of the artwork I see on Twitter come through my feed these days. It must be interesting for my algorithm to kind of figure out what I'm into. But I love them all. None of them appear to be listening to the show, however, which is I would love them to. We're not exactly digging into what they want to talk about, is my guess. They would have a lot to say about him being trussed up naked. And I'm like, man, this specimen is in great shape.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, eating people really does a lot for your figure, as it turns out.
Yes. I mean, Mason does stick his knife into his hindquarters. I was like, little lean. I'm like, yeah, he's in great fucking shape. And for the second episode in a row, people are making a lot of bargains with Hannibal. And I feel that's a real sticky wicket, but it does seem to work out for the second episode in a row, where Margot and Alana are like, hey, we're going to let you go. That shouldn't work out for us, but we think you're the only one for the job. Go kill some people and save Will's life. He's like, okay, but I'm not going to kill I'm not going to kill Mason Verger. You're going to do that for me. And so what do? They wander into his bedroom and he's like, he's got a gun and they're just like, so we found the pig you implanted with Margot's fetus. It's
we forgot.
What?
We forgot to mention that. Like that. I mean, as soon as he said, "Oh, you're not going to want to see the surrogate," I'm like, he put it in a fucking pig or cow or something.
Yeah, I did not. I honestly did not see that one coming either. Again, watched this when it came out, but I memory hold it because my brain can't handle the information. I mean, the thing is that once they discover this and decide to cut the baby out of it and just hold it in their arms like, hey, this is unfortunate. Then they go to confront Mason about it. And Mason's like, you can't kill me. And they end up deflecting the gunshot into the glass floor of his eel. He falls in, and then they hold his head underwater while the eel goes, I want to live in your mouth. And that's how he dies. Columbo could crack this one in 5. You know what I mean? He doesn't need a full 90 minutes.
Also, I do like that they mentioned, oh, by the way, Hannibal told us we can how to stimulate your prostate with a cattle prod.
So he did. Like, don't you feel like you would feel that afterwards? You would wake up going, hey, what kind of misadventure did I go through where my prostate was triggered by a cattle prod I just happened to have around and managed to get, your prostate isn't right. Like, you have to, it's a full finger's worth in there, Betty. You gotta dig. And yeah.
Or you could just try, jamming a cattle prod up the old hoo-ha.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm at a certain age. I'm willing to try new things. So as soon as I get my hands on a cattle prod, I'm sure you can get one of those on Amazon, right?
Well, just make sure you fill a test tube with,
and just hold it around. Don't put it on ice or anything. Just have it in your pocket at the ready.
So is the implication that Alana's going to carry the baby? And if so, why?
Well, again, sex so good your face be merging. I mean,
you do a thing.
Yeah, like you kaleidoscope sexed. It was that good. You merged into another human being. That's how good the orgasms were. So, I mean, I guess, why not? She's been through a bad relationship. I want good things for her. That she managed to come out of falling out of a second story window onto concrete with all of her uterus intact, given what happened to her pelvis. More power to her, I guess.
I mean, part of self-preservation is carrying the baby of a child molester. Okay. Some women will get a massage or a nice facial just to, for their self-care. She's going to carry an incest baby. Well, not. I guess it wouldn't be an incest baby, but it would still be a baby made 50% of a child molester.
Yes. I feel that's a real tough dice roll. You know what I mean? You're not starting with the best. But okay. I'm not her mom, or her dad, or anyone to her. But they got a plan. Let's see how it goes. And then, Chiyoh shoots somebody, maybe Will, although Will doesn't seem to be affected by it or anything else. just wakes up in bed like, oh, you're here. And he and Hannibal have a real messy breakup where Hannibal's like, can the teacup come back together? Motherfucker, you tried to saw into his head. Like, he tried to knife you in the street. These things just don't work out, you know?
I mean, at this point, the idea that, Will kind of, is in love with him and doesn't really want to, see him, go down for his crimes. It's a little past implausible at this point. There's an abusive relationship and there's this.
Yeah. And then he talks to Chiyoh and she's like, listen, not all creatures should be in cages. And I think the plan is I'll surrender and I'll give them the satisfaction of catching me and then you shoot me. And she lines up the shot and is like, psych, and goes out of town with her rifle. Again, she can travel international borders with this rifle. Okay, sure. Why not?
It just like, snaps apart. She puts it in her overnight bag.
I guess. Like from Europe, she's traveling with this. So yeah, Hannibal's been caught. Will's like, I'm going to be inside the house. I miss my dogs. Jack's probably back in the good graces of the FBI because he's quote unquote caught the Chesapeake Ripper. We're all set up for our next half of the season in which, we get to see a little fella by the name of Red Dragon.
The impossibly handsome Francis Dollarhide.
The super sexy Dollarhide. Yes. So buckle up for that.
To say they took some artistic liberties with this character is a bit of an understatement.
It is, but the nice thing about the show is they never give you the thing they promise in the way it's been laid out before. That would be too clean and too neat, that they're not willing to tell the same story the same way. And as a result, it's a real fun ride what happens on the back half of this season.
Yeah. I just think it's funny that, this is the guy they cast for Dollarhide, a male model.
Well, it's not like Ralph Fiennes was like, "Oh, get that Uggo out of here," either. But
but like they do make him look a little creepy. But yeah, that's kind of funny to me.
Lot to look forward to. When we choose our own Deathventure, we've got a couple things to choose from. We can just be shot, or we could have our face carved off and put on top of a child molester's face as just a little cover up.
So someone was beaten with a hammer too, but I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know who it was.
I assume that was Cordell was beaten with a hammer.
Maybe.
Or was he just covering up for the guy who got shot so that...
Well, I assume that with Cordell, he did the whole strapping him to a table and carving his face off. No, because isn't that Cordell's face that...
Yes, it's absolutely Cordell's face.
Okay. I mean, I don't know where he found the time to do that, but time has no meaning in this show.
It's true. It's a very elastic concept here. Or you can have an electric eel shoved down your throat, get deep throated by an eel. So Gina, you of course go first.
I guess honestly, just shot because like none of these are good.
No, I think I'll be shot. The two guys who get it in Florence go quick, so I'll take shot over it. I do not want to drown with an eel down my throat.
No.
Listen, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think I'll take shot. Thank you very much. I think I'll take here today, gone tomorrow. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today. People check it out. Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Revenge Body does all of our music. You can go to Revenge Body Memphis at bandcamp.com and find his entire album of both our themes and remixes. All profits will go to Memphis Choices, a wonderful organization helping the people in Memphis get needed health care, regardless of what insane laws people want to take your rights away for no particular reason other than to cause pain and mayhem. America's big time trouble. Very bad. Don't do it, in my estimation. Find us on the Twitter, the Facebook, Instagram. Just look up Kill by Kill. Let the conversation continue there. Of course, you can get our Patreon, where we're doing all sorts of fun stuff. We're still going through the Halloween series. We've had a listener's choice this month as an extra film to talk about, and those are always fun. But don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.